So we are going live now, ma'am. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I welcome you all for Beyond Education series being organized by IDYM Group of Companies. Beyond Education. It is a unique talk show that comes up with unique stories every day. We believe that everyone has a story to tell, a lesson to teach, and a wisdom to share. And life is a beautiful masterpiece bound together by your experiences. Beyond education, it provides an opportunity to open up and share your story and become an inspiration to others. You can make a difference because you matter and you were created with purpose. So, we have a very special guest today, Dr. Deepti Joshi ma'am. She is a researcher, educationalist, entrepreneur, investor, philanthropist, and a happy mother. I welcome you, ma'am, for the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, ma'am, it's our pleasure. And before starting the interaction, let me take this opportunity to introduce our speaker. Deepti ma'am, she has done USB in instrumentation and PG diploma in financial management, MA in economics and education, and also PhD in education. And she's the founder of founder and MD of Institute of Educational Leadership, founder MD of Finis Finance Company Consultancy Private Limited, All India Bureau Chief for Lok Samna News, advisor and associate partner for Yagya Care, research officer for Agrivant Farmiculture, business consultant for Aesthetics International, advisor for Incubation Center for DSPV, Dev Sanskriti Vishwavidyalaya, Uttarakhand, and member ICC Internal Complaint Committee, Father C. Roderick's Institute of Technology. She is also the winner of Miss and Mrs. India Voice of Women 2020, Duet and Mrs. Mompreneur 2022 Ambassador, and she is again a winner of many, many awards, which we will be discussing in a while. Yeah, ma'am. So this was in front of you because if I start reading, I think it will take another 10 to 15 minutes. But that time we'll be knowing more about you. So, ma'am, so let's chat. So the very first thing, when I started reading your qualifications, like BE in instrumentation, and then you have shifted to finance and economics. So how does transformation happen from engineer to education and economics?
So, so it was basically unplanned. Life went on, and I just tried fulfilling every childhood dreams that I had. So I did engineering only because, as a child, I thought that engineers are very smart. So I decided that I'll become an engineer. So when I grew up, there was no logic, but because, and of course, engineers are smart, no doubt about it. So I did engineering just because, I, as a child, I thought that, okay, during my 10th standard also, my professors were engineers. So I was quite fascinated by engineering, and I never wanted to do job, but I did engineering just because I wanted to do it. But I had no interest as such in the technical field. I was more fascinated with education. I like teaching. I started teaching very early on. So I started taking up tuitions when I was in seventh grade. So when I was in seventh grade, I was teaching somebody who was in sixth grade. And I recall that when I was in 11th, I was teaching somebody who was in 11th. So, and at the age of 17, did my formal job in education. I was teaching computers at that time. And I had no student who was younger to me. So I always wanted to do something in the field of education. But I did B just because I wanted to become an engineer. So there was no logic behind it, but I always wanted to connect back to education. Once I did BE, then I joined Reliance, which was one of the finest job in India available at that time. And I got promoted as a manager. So I became manager default in a year. So first year we were learning. I joined as a trainee. Second year you become manager, so you have juniors, so you teach them. By third year, the job was the same. It was very monotonous. So I started getting bored. And at that time, my colleagues also were pursuing MBA, which was very high costing MBA, somewhere close to 60,000 and all that. And they had to take up a break also for that. So I came to know about distance learning program of Mumbai University. So I was any which was very bored, And I was seeing my colleagues doing some further studies. So I was like, okay, if everybody's doing, why should I be left out, right? So Mumbai University distance program of PGDFM was the best option available to me. So I spoke with my HR that I don't want a full-time leave, but to adjust during my exams or submissions and projects. And they had been very kind. So I did my PGDFM while I was working at Reliance. And I did it because I was really bored of my job and I needed a change. So I did my first year of PGDFM and I started implementing. I made few investments, and fortunately all my investments took up. It did really well. And I thought, what am I doing here, doing a job? Like what I was earning in a year, my investment gave me better returns than that. So I thought grass is always greener on the other side. So I thought, job mein kya rakha hai, business is the best thing and investment is the best test. So after doing my first year of PGDFM, I left the job and I started my business. And I had really tough time for initial 2 to 3 years because it was not that easy. Doing few investment, being fortunate with few investment does not mean that it will be persistent. So I failed big time. So it took me 2 to 3 years after struggle, understanding business statistics and all that. So I actually had to drop out of PGDFM. I did first year, then I took a break, then I did business. And with business, because I was failing, it was not possible to pursue any further studies. And I also wanted to adopt few children, like, and you know that with the age you have a family pressure to have your family getting married, etc. So once I was financially stable, I had decided to adopt a child. So I went ahead to adopt a child, but God gave me 3, 4 children in the same year, and I adopted all of them. So I adopted two on paper, two off paper. And today I have 12 plus children adopted, two on paper, others are not on paper, but it's a family of dozen plus now. And I also have grandchildren and great grandchildren. So that is when I took my PGDFM back, because when I adopted children, 4 children was too much for me. I never thought I was prepared for one child, that a very small child. So I took break from my business because doing everything was not possible. And when you adopt child, it is not interacting with child. It was interacting with people from NGO. Even my daughter's parents, she was single parent, so her mother was there. So taking care, and she was a TB HIV patient. So taking care of her and everything was very difficult. So I took break from business, and any which ways it was on autopilot mode. So we were earning enough even if I don't do. So because I was free during that time, because you wouldn't give full time to children. So there was a gap that I had. So I pursued my PGDFM. And when I went back to universities, I inquired about master's courses, and I came to know that they won't allow you to do master's in education if you haven't done bachelor's in education. So I opted the second best option, which was economics, and very close to my heart. So I did my economics, but I found it not very interesting, though it was helpful doing my business and everything. But I was sure, and I wanted to do PhD also. As a child, I had a dream that I want to do PhD or attain the highest degree in education, to be precise. So after masters, I wanted to do PhD, and I realized that economics is not something that I can do full-time research on, because I wasn't finding it very relevant to what I was doing, or it was not relevant to life, or I could not solve any problem unless and until I'm masters in economics. I was not that expert in economics because my graduation was not in economics, and I could not catch up well, to be honest. So I switched to education, and I came to know that few universities outside of Mumbai, they allow you, if you don't have bachelor's, you can still pursue your master's and PhD in education. So then I switched to master's in education, and eventually I got to PhD in education. So it was not planned, but yeah, it is just what I wanted to do as a child, so I did it. So it's not that's how the journey had been.
Yeah, but that is amazing. You went on doing what you find to be interesting. Otherwise, we end up doing the degrees what others have told us most of the time. But you did it because you were interested in it. And ma'am, nextly, but now you are the founder and the MD of Institute of Educational Leadership, and also the founder of Finest Finance Company, Consultancy Private Limited. So can you just share about how you started with these ventures?
Okay, so when I was at Reliance, I already said that I was doing my PGDFM. So finance was a subject that I learned already. And when I implemented, it worked well. So I thought, so I left my job immediately because any which ways I was done with 3, 4 years. I was sure that I can't do it for the whole life. Like doing the same thing every day, it was there was no motivation basically. So I switched to business. And at that time, doing business and engineering was very difficult. These days, it has become very easy because of internet, everything. Those days, it was highly capital sensitive. The field was dominated by male. There were hardly women to look up to, there was no inspiration as such. And I did not have that high capital to start a business and also that high level of passion which is required to do and sustain a business. But finance, somehow I found it very easy that you can start with zero. And as in past, it worked for me. So I thought that let's do it. And we could get couple of collaborations, like we had collaboration with Airtel, Vodafone, and a couple of good companies to have our stalls in their premises. So few years went back. Of course, we lost. Like I tried my hands everywhere, including stock market and risk investments also. That did not work well. Forming a client base also initially was difficult. Identifying people who were authentic is a huge task that took me 2, 3 years to learn actually. So by then it really picked up. So my first business is still the most successful business that I have. So we started as Finest Finance. And last year we registered a company called Finest Finance Consultancy Private Limited. And because I did a successful business, I realized that startups, 10 out of 8 usually fail, and they fail because they don't understand the strategy. I did not have any mentors. So I learned this strategy on my own, or maybe by the grace of God. Somehow I had that skill. So I thought, why not teach it to everyone, right? So that's how I started teaching informally. We were not having any formal setup. Even today, I teach free of cost. So IEL is not a revenue generating business for me. It is part charity organization actually. So when I teach, I do not charge anything. But IEL started in a formal structure is when my daughter was on 10th. So when she was in her board, I used to tell her that, be serious about your life, think what you want to do ahead and all that. So children have a tendency that if you torture them, they torture you back. So when I was telling her that, look, what you want to do in your life, what are you doing now? So she asked me that when you were my age, what you wanted to do. And you may probably laugh, but as a child, I wanted to become education minister of the whole world. And I don't know what does that mean. Even today, I don't know. But as a child, I always wanted to become education minister of the whole world. And then as I grow up, I realized that okay, there's no such position. But I don't know from where, or maybe I was inspired by Lal Bahadur Shastri, who was education minister for some time for India. And I wanted it on a global level. There could be a reason. But as a child, I had a dream that I wanted to become education minister of the whole world. So I told her that this is what my dream was. So she said that, did you achieve it? I'm like, oh my God. So it was a tough time answering her. And then she said, why don't you do it? And she said that if you become so, what you do? So I told her that, I'll stop all these exams, book, pen, etc. And she was like, why don't you become now so that I will be saved from this torture during my 10th? So I was like, okay, let's begin. And she wanted me to start something, because I had this dream as a child and I was not doing anything in the field of education formally. All I was doing was finance, finance, finance. So then I founded IEL, Institute of Educational Leadership. And this happened in 2019. And 2020, we had COVID. So we just started and we had lockdown. And that worked very positively because today IEL has presence in 17 states of India. And we had a very good event, online event during lockdown where we could raise somewhere close to 50,000, of which somewhere close to 20 went for referral and everything. And 30,000 we did charity. So that was a very good experience. However, after lockdown, again, there was finance, and when you see profit you would be behind profit obviously. So IEL activities still we do it every month. And as I said that we have 17 states, so I decided after lockdown that every year I'll travel to at least 2 states and meet people whom I have met online who are my IEL associates. So both of these businesses are successful. I had many failed business, so there's a list of business which we failed. So that uh, we can skip discussing, but this is how ILN, a finance consultancy private limited, came into existence.
Wow, that's really great to know. Yeah, you've been working a lot, and especially like you talk about you have adopted children, and this really amazing to know. You're a true philanthropist who's working, in fact. Yes, you're also the All India Bureau Chief of Lok Samna News. So I would like to know more about it.
Okay. So how this journey started is, when I was uh, going to places, I realized that press reporter has access to every place where general public don't have. So I just wanted to have a reporter card, and somewhere on my Facebook, it flashed that Lok Samna was kind of recruiting reporters, and I was not interested in journalism because I'm not a trained journalist. So I thought, let me ask him that if I could, I would not work, but I just want card, which I knew that many people had at the time. So I was like, when I called, I was very reluctant. How can you ask for such a thing? And I said that, see, I have known people who have this card and who have access to people, so I can hire someone who can work on behalf of me. But I'm not a trained journalist, so I won't be able to work as such. But I want to be a reporter. So that person said that, just send me your profile. So I sent him the profile, and the editor said that he's Gujarati. So he said that, I can't give you a reporter ka designation. Looking at your profile, you should be the bureau chief. So I was like, okay. So sometimes we underestimate ourselves. I wasn't knowing. I just approached him reluctantly that, okay, do I deserve to be a reporter because I'm not a trained journalist? And he said that you do not do journalism. All you need to do is handle them because you're good at managerial activities. So with Lok Samna, all I do is whenever I go to Delhi, I meet politicians. So last year, there were only two channels in Gujarat who got approval for all India rights. One of them was Lok Samna. So we work on that front. That I'm not a trained journalist, but in business, I say that if you know how to sell tomato, you know how to sell potato, you know how to sell an onion. So once you know the strategy, it can work anywhere. So right now, for Lok Samna, two fronts we are working on. One is dealing with bureaucrats and politicians. That is, I'm best at doing so. And I personally like meeting leaders, talking to them because it's an inspiration actually. And second is, Lok Samna is also doing good activities like they honor ASHA workers and social workers, especially women. So I really look forward to working on that front, education also. So these are the activities that so far I have done as bureau chief with Lok Samna.
Yeah, that's a good amazing. Because you thought you are going to be just a reporter, and you were appointed as the All India Bureau Chief. So that was really great to know.
No. It was not All India bureau chief. I was Navi Mumbai bureau chief for first year. Then second
Okay.
year I was Maharashtra bureau chief, and then eventually since 3 years I'm All
Yeah.
India bureau chief.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yes, one more thing. You're also the winner of Mrs. India, Miss and Mrs. India Voice of Women 2020, and Mrs. Mompreneur 2022 ambassador. So, what was that about now? What are these
Okay.
titles?
I So basically, this was during lockdown. Down first, I'm talking about Miss Mrs. India Voice of Women. So during lockdown, we started with the event, which was a talent show at IEL, and that became very popular, very famous. I don't know how, but people would call me and they said that हमने आपका flyer देखा. We had 60 plus ambassadors, and as I said, we are present in 17 states of India. So almost everyone was covered, and I would get calls saying that I saw a flyer of your name, somebody posted like that. So I felt good about it. And at that time, there were many collaborators who would come to us that, okay, because everybody had taken sponsorship and the events were not getting materialized because it was lockdown. And what we were doing was online, that too, we got very good response. So there was one person who came to me, Darshnik Mumbai, and they had this pageant. So they said, would you include it with your talent show? And I said, why not? So he gave all his sponsors to us to publicize and all that, so that sponsors were also good and happy. And we had a title for a pageant. So we started like that, and he offered that whenever we have a show, you can send one person in each category, Miss, Mr., Mrs., like that. So we were like, okay, good. And later on, though, we discontinued the collaboration, and we had collaborated with Adorned Affairs and Entertainment. So we had collaboration with two. One we started, but we discontinued in between, and second one. But when he gave an offer that you can send a girl and a boy for this, I first thought of my daughter because she's from an underprivileged background. And I was told that we prefer a person who's from underprivileged background because that was done by an NGO who would promote many underprivileged children. So I thought first of my daughter, I was like, and she was very much interested into all these things. So I suggested that if you want, you can participate. So she said yes. But later on, she could not do it. She was like a bit afraid or whatever. She could not even walk alone. And that's how she was habitual. She would do everything alone. But if I'm with her, she would want me to do everything with her. So she said, why don't you do this with me? So I asked them that, is Miss Mrs. category allowed? They said, why not? So I also participated. And there was less of competition in Miss Mrs. category, almost no competition. So we just won. So it is said that, when you're doing good to others, actually you're doing good to yourself. I never thought that I'll participate in a pageant, keep aside winning. I did it for my daughter, and this was like, it has been awesome. That so every time with my children, I learned this lesson that whatever good I have done for them, I don't know whether or not they got the results. I got the maximum result. Like then once I won this, I never felt that I'm beautiful or something. But now people, they start calling you that you look beautiful and all that. And since you have a title, so then with Lok Samna, we had this Mompreneur Ambassador 2022. And we are still due to do it actually. Like we did online, but offline is still due. So probably we will extend in 2023. I would also probably correct it as not 2022, but 2023. So this one is still due. And first was because my daughter wanted to participate, she did. Accidentally, I did, and that is how it happened.
It's again wonderful, ma'am. Like running those pageants and that too with your daughter. So, and ma'am, yes, next thing that I would like to know, because there is so much in your profile, I'm just confused what to ask. So, nextly, I would like to know about your role as former National Director for National Child and Women Development Council. So, ma'am, what is that?
Okay, so I wanted to do something for a good cause. And it is not only NCWDC where I had this role. At the same time, I was working maybe half a dozen NGOs. So I was Maharashtra State President for Aesthetics International Council for Progressive Women. I started with them as Navi Mumbai president. Then I became Maharashtra president, and then I became national vice president. I was also national president for Global Village Connection for women's network. And so all these NGOs had the same thing because we are present in 17 states of India. Everyone wants to expand. So collaborating with me, so I was not doing anything special for NCWDC. What I was doing for AICPW, I was doing the same thing for GVC, the same thing with NCWDC. It wasn't that I was working differently, but we were working in collaboration. So all the contacts that we had, we would share that if I know someone in Raipur, they want to do a program. And yes, NCWDC is doing few good works like Padiyatra, which is just like Padiyatra. They do menstrual hygiene awareness and all those programs. So whenever they plan I'm no more with any of the NGOs because as I started my business, especially formally when we registered company and all that. So when I was planning to do it, my lawyer said that just continue with NGOs because, when you get revenue from your business, your NGO will always be doubted because NGO somehow, unfortunately has been, it is non-for-profit, but it has become a business. And that money, because you're not doing business in the name of business, you're doing charity, but you are kind of taking money. So the impression is that if you are having some funds, and if you're associated with NGO, you're always in doubt or speculation. So my lawyer said that quit NGOs. I'm no more working with NCWDC or GC or AICPW for that matter. I was vice president for Press Club of Drishti Bharat, intellectual wing. That's also an NGO. I was with IDYM also. I joined as chief policy officer, but then immediately next year, once the lockdown was over, I was advised that you uh, be distant from NGO. So I was director with Smriti Odisha, with Vishwa Humanity Foundation. There were many NGOs that I was associated with, and I was doing the same thing. It wasn't that I was doing for individual NGOs. We were doing common stuff. What I was doing for one, I was doing for second. But everyone is the same thing. And but yeah, because I had business and I was advised, so I had to quit.
Yeah, sometimes we have to take those issues that should be actually suitable to our present life. We have to take it. Yes, but still you have done a lot for the society. And ma'am, you're also the winner of so many awards. So any of the award that is very close to you, or you can just share about some of your awards if you want.
So I think two that I call distinctly my very first award. Honestly, when I got I always underestimate myself. That is not just past, it is present also maybe. When I got my first award, I wasn't believing that I deserve an award. One of the directors of NMCBI, Navi Mumbai Business and Industrial Commerce, Chamber of Commerce and Business and Industry. So the director happened to know me, and he knew my work, so he recommended my name. So I got call from them that please nominate yourself and give your work. And I was very kind of, what should I give, you know? So I had no idea what to write in my profile. But a long time I left the job, so there was no point in making CV. So I did not have any CV. So I said, but the LinkedIn profile do. They said, okay, fine. So they did with my LinkedIn profile. I did not have any pitch or any bio data or anything. And then they literally called me to write down everything in detail. So because I could not write, I was just doing business. There was no formal writings that I had. And then they asked for a good photo. And surprisingly, I had no good photographs at that time. You know, there was no formal photographs that I had. Then she said that, can you click one? So I had to wear proper dressing, do proper hair and all that. Because I was, by that time, you know, had children. And so I was like, so not a single photograph that I had, which was professional photograph. So then for that first award nomination, I had to take a formal photograph and give it to them. That too, they rejected. So there was a girl, she rejected multiple times that nahi, ye nahi chalega, give a better, you know. And I did not have a good quality camera also at that time, like a professional camera I did not have. So she rejected many times that not this photograph, not send better, send better. So I never thought that I'll get an award. And it was on, not on Women's Day, some 2, 3 days before Women's Day. And it was in Navi Mumbai. That time I was staying at Ghatkopar. So going, and I was told wear sari because everybody would wear sari. So wear sari. So for me, you know, wearing sari, traveling from Ghatkopar to Navi Mumbai in the too early morning, I wasn't very happy. Like I wasn't excited for the award because I wasn't knowing that I deserve it. Then I got the award. I did not feel very happy about it. Then I posted on social media, and everyone was like, "Wow, congratulations!" This that, and that made me happy. That okay, because of me, others are here happy, you know, because when they cheer you up, it's a moment for happiness in their life also. And especially my children, they take a lot of pride in saying that, look, my mom is doing this, my mom has achieved this. So that motivates me a lot. Like when I got my first award, I wasn't very happy. Like it was like, okay. And yeah, during my study days, I had got many awards. I won international award when I was in engineering. I won two technical presentations, paper presentations and all. But after that, I never got an award. This was my first award for business and for my good work. And till then, I did not have kind of faith in myself, that I wasn't knowing that I've done such a beautiful thing. It was first time that this award made me feel that okay, what I'm doing is really, and yeah, when they shared, and I also shared my journey with everyone, and the way everybody appreciated it. So I felt that okay, good. And after that, even today, I get one award every month. So now that you get every month, that also does not excite you. But the one award that I got from Marva Studios, uh, that was also very special. Why I felt, because during lockdown also I got many e awards. I get invited many times and I say no because I'm not present either in Mumbai at that time, or if it is outside of Mumbai, I can't go travel just to take an award. So usually I say no to many of the awards that I will not come. So all they do is they send you a soft copy, e-certificate, etc. This was a special thing because I got a call from them saying that you could not come for the program. So just give me your address, we will courier it to you. And I'm like, no, thank you so much. You said it to me. Um, that's okay if you don't do it. And they said, no, we are doing it. So from all the way from Noida, they courier it to my place. And I know many places where, they charge you for everything. And it was such a kind gesture. But even after that, like how they say that you attract the energy that you throw out to the universe. They were sending me by courier. And I said no. They said no, there won't be any charge. I'm like, no, it's not about charge. That's okay. I don't need it. There's no space to keep. Like even like I when I get the award, even today, I don't store it. So I have got so many awards, all the soft copies I have, all the photographs I have, but the actual awards I haven't kept it. Like every time Kabaddi Wale go, I still do it. I don't know why, but I don't store anything. So I was like, no, there's no point that you will send that award. So that award also I haven't kept with me, but they sent it to me. So all I did is I took a photo and then gave it away to a Kabaddi Wala. So that was a very special award to me because somebody, it was such a sweet gesture, though they would have done it for everybody. But for me, it was like, yeah, very touching gesture, which was very touching. So, and of course, at that time, I wasn't knowing what Marwa Studio is, their reputation. When I declined their invitation, they did not take it personally, or maybe they did not notice it. They had been very kind to send it to me later to my house. So, otherwise, when you say no to people, sometimes they may take personally. Until then, I wasn't knowing the respect that the owner of Marva Studio has, and they're connected to Anil Kapoor's family. That all these things I came to know later. So it was like very humble person that I met, and it was for me it was an humbling experience. So these two awards are very special for me. So yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. Actually, all the questions. And yes, ma'am, any kind of challenges, because you have been working so much and your career, like you started from something and now you are doing something else. So any kind of challenges or difficulties that you have faced?
Yeah, I mean, I think you will agree with me that being women itself is a big challenge. Like before we are born, we still live in a world where, chances of your survival is 50-50 if the person comes to know that is a girl child. After you're born, your parents are constantly concerned about your safety. Even if your education is done, they will still be worried about your marriage, everything. And when you enter the world of business, not just in India, across the globe, women participation in leadership role is merely 2%. 2% would be a exaggeration, I would say. So this is like being women, it is very challenging because there is less participation. When I started my first business, uh, when I was going for meeting, there was not a single woman that I was meeting because all I was meeting all the company directors. We were doing consulting. So all the decision makers were now it is compulsory to have one director on board who is women. But that time it wasn't like that. So every person that I meet, I was really tired of meeting men. Every time I go and in a meeting, there's no women. And not everyone is very genuine. So when you have a bad experience, like it's not every day that you'll come across an accident. But if you have an accident, the damage which it would cause will last for few days, few months, few years. So whenever I had those experiences, no, mentally I would be really damaged. How could someone talk to me like that? But I took it as a challenge that let's learn to deal with people. Let's learn to identify people. Sometimes, yeah, I used to trust easily. Even today, I trust easily. Default, I trust everyone. But now I have learned to set boundaries. Now I have learned to identify people that who is genuine, who is not, who is authentic, who is not. But initially, it wasn't the case. So I think challenges are more on that part. Being women and being in a male dominated field was very difficult because yeah, seriously, like if I'm not talking to any women, there was a point of time when I was like, I was dying to meet a woman. But now it's good. Like now situation is better. You have many women on board. entrepreneurs, quite a few. Won't say many. We are still not equal, but at least whenever you go, you have 2 to 3 women out there. So there could be 10 men. There would be 2 to 3 women. That which is a relief because earlier when I go, I was the only person there who was. So that was like, so now situation is better. We're still not up to the mark, but this is the biggest hurdle, if you ask me. This is the biggest challenge because we are equal percentage. And that affect, then later on when I learned economics and all that, I learned that how it is affecting GDP. If all of women we participate, GDP would probably be double. And I do not underestimate the work that we do at home. But I believe if you participate in economy actively, your homework can be shared with other family members. Right now, what's happening? It's all burdened on women. Every responsibility is on women. So if you are actively participating in market share, GDP of the country, your household work also can be shared with other members of the house. And yeah, convincing that was also difficult. So if I had to tell my children who were adult that, okay, you share the work, initially I used to feel bad because mother has, like, I don't know why mother is like, a mother, thy name is sacrifice, but a mother is also a human being. So keeping balance between professional life, personal life, everything, that is also a challenge. So as a woman, I think a man does not have these challenges. For men, having children does not matter. For men's marital status does not matter that much compared to it matters to women. So this was the biggest challenge that I faced. Now that I learned to deal with it, it's easier. And now situation is also changed. We are progressing as a society, so that is a good thing. But initially, I had this challenge.
Yes, we can't progress without challenges. And challenges actually help us to learn a lot. And because we have been going through so many challenges, you have been meeting so many people. But there must have been certainly few of them who were your supporters during your good and bad times. So who were those people?
Okay. So when I was working at Reliance, till then there was no bad time. I think I did not I had no stress until I was working at Reliance first 3 years, I would say. Like as a child, during my college days, during my work days, uh, if I do something wrong, I was given a punishment that you come for a movie with us or you come for an outing or a picnic with us. I would not go for movies, outing, picnic because I was very happy in my own. Like I would ask them that why you go, what makes you go here and there and all that. They said that it gives us happiness. I'm like, are you not happy where you are? So I was very happy. Like I would never have junk food also. I came to know later on that this craving for junk food and all that is because of stress. Even if you give it to me for free, I would not have tea, coffee, vada pav, samosa pav. Like I was that kind of a person. But I changed completely. Even today, I travel a lot. I go outside because I realized that there's a lot of stress. So when I was working at Reliance, I was very privileged. So there was no stress. So there was no requirement of support. Problem started when I started with business. Uh, Still, business was okay. Main problem started when I adopted children because I had been a single mother. And it is a very bold decision that, my parents wanted me to get married. And I was like, what's this pressure? Why you want to do it early? They said, if you get married late, then you have children late. So I'm like, okay, so children are the main problem. And I always wanted to adopt a child. So I said, let me adopt it first so that, your tension will go away. So that phase was very difficult, very, very, very difficult. But I think I received, so today, as I said, I have a dozen plus children. So my first few children were difficult because at that time, I wasn't knowing and I wasn't feeling that I'm a mother. The feelings would not come. Now I feel very much, but at that time, I wasn't feeling like that. So my children have been the very strong support for me at that time also. So, and I say it repeatedly that whatever I am today is because of the blessings of those children. Like, I don't know what good I would have done for anyone, but whatever I've achieved has been a miracle in my life. It came so easily after that because I have seen those 3 to 4 years when I could not even cry, I would say. If you cry, it's better. There's a phase of life where you want to cry, but you don't cry. That's a most difficult phase, because I had children living with me. My daughter was with me. I could not cry in front of her. So it was very difficult phase. But the same children, they supported a lot. And thanks to them that I am strong, I'm stronger, I would say. So yeah, I think children have been a constant support, a constant inspiration for me. So that's been the thing.
So it's really good to know, ma'am, that the children are your greatest supporters. And then next, I would like to know some of your future goals.
As I said, as a child, I always wanted to become education minister of the whole world. And no matter, I laugh at it right now, but I still want to work towards that goal. That if there's one thing, and especially when I work with my children, when I talk with them, I realize that it's not a problem with Indian children. Culturally, we are far better. Like the suicide rate in India is far, far less compared to many other countries in this world who are developed countries also. So I think India has a lot to contribute to the world in terms of family values and culture. So I look forward that, right now what we are doing is, it's like in economics, it is said that there has to be a trade-off between export and import. Like if you are just importing, that is bad for the economy. And if you are just exporting, that is also bad for the economy. So you have to take from other countries and you also have to give to other countries. Right now, India, we are taking much, like we are adopting everything from Western culture, to be precise. And what they are doing is they are kind of adopting our culture, which was healthy. We have switched to junk food, like, in those regions where they could not have fresh food, so they would have refrigerator and oven, microwave, etc. India is such a rich country where you can have fresh food every day. You can step out of your home every day, but we still consume such a unhealthy food, and it impacts mental health so much because what we eat, that impacts every part of body. So it impacts your skin, whatever is there in your stomach, it impacts your eyes, it impacts your brain, it impacts your mind. With my children also, I work very hard on their. So I have few children who were hardcore drunkers. They were addicted. So one of my child was a chain smoker. He quit smoking. One of my child, he still have a liver enlargement because he was so much alcoholic. He had this jaundice and he would hospitalize every now and then. Now he has quit everything, like alcohol, non-veg, everything. So I think India has a lot to offer to this world. Also the education system, because it's not that we are stuck. We had such a beautiful system of Gurukul where child does not stay at the family, because at your family you learn from your parents. And you will never learn discipline from your parents. You have to look at a person who is living a disciplined life. So there's a reason why is lack of discipline everywhere. And that's the reason, because there's no discipline. So you don't have control over your brain and mind. And so you act on impulses. So suicide, one of the reasons for this, depression, one of the reasons is because your mind is not in your control. And it is such a huge problem globally. So yeah, I look forward if we can do something about it, not for the youth of India, but for the youth across the nation or the globe. So that I would look forward to, of course. So that's my future goal in terms of contributing to humanity if I can.
Yes, so yes, ma'am, that's wonderful. And you are contributing to the humanity and you have a future goal too for the same to contribute to the humanity. And that's really great. And with this, we come to the end of our interaction, to the end of the session. And it was a really great time talking to you, knowing more about you. And thank you. Thank you very much for joining with us, for joining the session and sharing your story with us. And also special gratitude to Ravi Shankar sir, Zeenat ma'am, and our dear team who has been working for making those sessions. And let me tell you, we have finished nearly 75 sessions of the Beyond Education
Yeah.
series. And still we have few more to come. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me.